Alright guys, today we're going to get started on getting this motor set in. We're going to build a motor mount for here and get this thing fully welded in. Got the motor mount, we're going to put a time lapse together of making the bracket for that. Then I'll come back whenever we're measuring the back shims for it. And then once we get done with that, we're going to start trying to get the rest of this thing tacked in there so it's under its own weight for once. So we can start taking measurements and fabbing up a little bit more. Alright guys, so we got that motor mount kind of mocked up here. We're gonna have to take some measurements and find out what our spacer needs to be on the back. So if we take this and measure it from the hole to the metal, looks like our spacer needs to be about 19.5 millimeters, and the bottom one needs to be about 6.8 millimeters. So we got this little spacer here, it's like 1/4 inch. We're gonna cut down and get this thing made up, and then I want to make this thing look a little bit nicer. Kind of looks like a death trap right now with this big point on it, so I think I'm gonna bend this over a little bit and round it off just so it looks a little bit better, and probably cut this bottom piece off. And you can see here, this is where our 1.5 inch DOM tube's gonna go, and then it's gonna come out to a little bracket here, and then another DOM tube's gonna come up from this bottom and then have little ears on it that goes through it. And that should kind of isolate the engine with the rubber mount. It's got decent hardware in it, so it should hold up pretty good. And then we'll go ahead and get everything tacked in, and we'll go from there, kind of see what our next project is and get started on that. Not 100% sure, I kind of jump around all over the place when I'm doing this. Got a couple bends in it. It's 1/4 inch, so we had to basically cut it in half and then bend it over. And then we're gonna round this top. It'll look a lot better in the engine bay, but do it to the bottom as well. We got these little spacers cut out, so we're gonna go ahead and full weld the back plate on both sides, and then weld the spacer. Enough heat in my welder to get into this 1/4 inch very good, but we'll get it sorted out. Alright, we'll come back once we get everything situated for the spacers, ground this down a little bit, and then we'll go from there. Bracket built, but now we got to figure out how we're gonna connect it down there to the bottom. I'm thinking we do something 1.5 inch tube. This is just a piece of scrap that I had. Come out here and connect it to this weldable little bracket here, and then come straight up from the subframe with another piece like this. Probably have to do a little corner piece. A lot of tube notching we got to do in a minute just to kind of get everything to fit, but that way it's removable, and so the only solid piece will be this piece here, and then this will be connected to the bracket. So let's get started on that, and I'll update you as we go. Alright guys, so we got this piece of scrap here with a 2-inch hole saw on the tube notchers. This is a tube notcher from Affordable Benders. I've never had any issues with it. It actually works out pretty well. But we're gonna notch out this 1.5 inch tube with a 2-inch notch here so that we could fit this bracket on there nice. This weldable little bracket here, rubber mount. So we'll get this started. I'll set you guys up so we can watch a little bit, and then we'll get going. we got this knocked out. So now it'll fit nicely around this piece here. So that way we can weld this on here. And we'll do another notch, but I think we need to cut it flat. So it'll be flat against the mount. So flat here, and then this will be sticking out, and then we'll have to build the bottom bit. But once we get this situated, we can weld it onto that plate that we made earlier. All right. So we got this tacked up. We're gonna see if it's kind of level. Check it in the truck so we can finish building the bottom mount. Make sure everything fits up all right. So with the holes lined up, it needs to rotate towards the front of the truck. So I gotta grind these off and re-tack it. It's the third time we've tried it, so. I think I'm gonna have to. Do something like that. All right. Let's see how that turned out. All right. This is the last time we're gonna test it. How it turned out. So again, we get it lined up. Oh yeah, I like that a lot more. It's actually level now. So now we can go ahead and tack that on there. Now that we've found out where it needs to sit, and we'll weld this piece up so we can get the bushings in it so that we can get the bottom built. So I'll go ahead and weld this up here. I kind of taught, well, my father-in-law taught me all that he knows, but I mean they hold. I've done a 1986 4Runner with the solid axle swap and everything, and I haven't had any welds break, so I'm getting good penetration. They're just not always the prettiest. I'm also using decently cheap welder, so that doesn't help any. I am using gas, so that helps a ton, but let's see how this turns out. Welder got jammed up. This wasn't a little too close, and the tip got all gummed up. What happens? See if that fixes it. No. Oh, we're out of wire. Bummer. Well, that kind of sucks. Completely out of wire. I think I have another roll here we can get set up. Man, right as my welds are actually starting to look decent. I'm gonna get this sorted. Alright, so I switched to the backup welder, but I don't have any of the settings set for this thickness of metal, but my welds are running out, or the wire was running out. My welds kind of look like crap. Got a couple decent ones. It's not wanting to focus. We'll see what this Harbor Freight welder does versus the Lincoln. Kind of give it a little comparison, I guess. Alright, let's give it a shot. A little bit higher settings. I have to clean up this thing like crazy on the outside. I got a bunch of booger welds up there. Didn't have enough heat in it. It wasn't actually setting down into the metal. So we'll get that situated. We still got to weld the top piece and we'll grind both of them down. See how it goes. Alright, get it tacked in. Alright, decent little tack. Should be able to hold up now. Get it positioned better. Just make sure you weld comfortably. That's pretty good. Still not perfect, but that's what a grinder's for. And, normally I wouldn't weld this much all at once, but I'm not really worried about this warping or anything. We seem to do better once the heat gets into it. The second weld's worked a lot better. Alright guys, so GoPro died, but I got this other mount assembled up. Gave it a little bit of angle. Got it tack welded, kind of just holding it in place. Motor mount's all finished up. Got this one over here tacked up. And then got the transmission mount tacked up. Got everything squared and aligned and squared up to the truck. So I think it's time to finally put this thing down on its own weight, see if it holds the motor. If we can get the motor out and actually weld everything up fully, so let's see. Well, the trans didn't move. This looks like that took a lot of our weight. Let's see what happens when we lower this down. All right. Oh. Looks like we popped a tack weld, so back up we go. Get some measurements. But I think that's it for today. I'm gonna record a little bit more next week, see if we can get everything in there good. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and see you next time.